All right, so I'm trying to get in right now and things were not going my way. So, holy crap. That was almost really bad. All right, number 3, here we go. EMD Serono. And having COVID, it's time to put on a show. The subtle hype, right? Yo, 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 let's go. I wonder if my wife can be heard in the background hollering at our kids. If I hear that, I'm pretty sure you guys can hear that.
Hi.
Hey, good afternoon.
You are just here, don't you?
How are you doing?
How are you doing?
Doing good. How's the conference?
It's good. Well, we this morning just had like 3.5 hours like kickoff of all things Ask Go, because we have, from the company, we have 189 people here, and we have a lot of people globally that have flown in. So anyway, so we were able to meet on what's to come and also like what we have right now. So anyway, how are you?
I'm doing good. Not as bad yet from the whole COVID stuff going on, but I did start kind of feeling a little body ache. So I'm like really just hoping, it doesn't hit me like it's hit my wife.
Are you still negative?
Yeah, like I'm still negative. So it's just weird. Like I do have like the lower back pain, and last night like I didn't sleep well, but it's like, okay, maybe because I'm triple vaccinated. I don't know, like the viral load's just lower in me maybe.
I just had my second booster. It was last Thursday. And I just felt like crud for like 2 days. Like it was, I don't know. So, hopefully you're okay. And here's your wife feeling? I mean, how's she feeling?
She's luckily, so this morning I was able to like really watch the kids and let her just like kind of keep sleeping in, and so she just got up now like around lunchtime to start helping out so that I could get ready for the interview. And then she's feeling like a little bit better, but I think really just like being able to relax, and that's gonna be like the best piece.
With children.
Yeah, that's the hard part. Our 4-year-old she is endless energy, so.
You don't understand. They just don't
No.
understand. So, they want mommy at full attention at all times. So,
Yeah.
And daddy. So, well, I hope that this weekend, hopefully she's able to get a lot of rest and hopefully feel normal or feel close to normal very, very soon. So,
Yeah, definitely. I was able, by the way, to speak with Griffin, so thanks for connecting us.
how did that go?
That was a really good conversation. He made me feel, a lot more at ease with Bruce and the type of person that Bruce is and everything. Awesome that at least he was able to give me insight of the territory, and then on top of that, just the fact of the team and how the team has really kind of grown closer together, and that Bruce did a really good job of kind of refilling all of these roles, and everybody that's on the team, everybody loves each other. Everybody's really happy with the decisions that he's made. So it was, good breath of fresh air after having that conversation.
And Fergie told me that she had some stuff going on today, but she was going to reach out to you on Monday. So
Cool.
I don't know if you've heard from her or not. But I did have a really nice discussion with her late yesterday. So I would be anticipating something from her either today at some point or hopefully on Monday.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. I think Griffin said that one of her children may have been having their tonsils out. She didn't tell me that, so I don't know if it was customer or personal, but hopefully she's able to connect with So,
Yeah, no worries.
well, I will not take too much of your time today. Hold on 1 second.
No, you're fine.
Okay, sorry. The ex-president of EOD was just texting me. So I was like, well, that's weird. But anyway, so I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
Actually 6. And I promise you that this will go very, very quickly. Again, I want to follow the same format at the end. Anything that you may have, that's top of mind, please let me know. And like I said, will do my best to try to answer all your questions. So,
Definitely.
Okay, so my first question is, tell me about a situation where you felt your actions made a real difference.
Okay. I'm going to cut when I think about that situation, one of the first things that comes to mind was San Antonio. That territory, when it comes to getting patients to be able to get treated, they are kind of for me, like in this, like the sale that I'm currently in with like Lutathera, it's very difficult because it's all a referral base. So the only treating site that we have for San Antonio is military veterans only. So everybody else has to travel out to either Austin or Houston or Dallas. And I got to meet with one of TOPA's brand new nurse practitioners, and whenever I got to meet with her, I just like came in with like a ton of energy, talked to her about like, this is the patient that we're looking for, this is the disease state that we're working with, and this is where you can get your patient treated. And whenever we were working through that situation, I asked her, because that office is always very closed off and it's so hard to get in front of the doctors. I asked her, I was like, if I give you like a little packet, would you be able to put these on your doctor's desk for me? And she said, yeah, 100%. So she took those packets from me and literally the very next day sent me pictures of the packets sitting on the desk and said, are you available for a lunch next week? Because Dr. Portillo would love to have a conversation with you. He has a couple of patients in mind. And it was like this was right when I want to say like, not necessarily the end of COVID, but at the time where people were thinking like, okay, maybe we can start opening offices a little bit. And it was just so awesome to really see how you can create that connection with more than one person and build like the patient background of what it is that you're looking for and have a second like advocate. And because of that, she was able to literally get me a lunch set up within just days of the lunch that I had with her previously. And we were able to get 2 patients treated that were going to get sent to Austin. And one of the like biggest problems that we ran into there though was one of them couldn't travel. So really just kind of thinking outside of the box and asking my treating site who they've worked with when it comes to external transportation, as well as what does their office do where they're treating the patients, like don't they have a service as well? And we were able to find an ambulance service that would take the patient from San Antonio to Austin to get treated.
And I'm not ignoring you. I have my notebook and I'm taking notes.
No, you're good. I take notes too. So
Whenever I'm not looking at you, I'm not ignoring you. So anyway, but it looks like chicken scratch right now. But anyway, that's okay. I got me. So in terms of that's a great example, and it sounds like there was obviously lots of challenges, but your direct interaction within the account definitely made an impact. So, so tell me about your most challenging customer. Describe the specific interaction you had with this customer. So, like, tell me about someone I think interact with challenging customers pretty much on a daily basis. But think about one specific one and how you kind of went about that challenging customer.
Definitely. So one comes right to mind, and I told you yesterday when we were having our conversation, like one of the reasons that I really fell in love with this space was learning about the different types of like rare diseases, and then us really becoming the advocate for it, because oncologists, they, while they do treat these patients, and many of them might not ever see some of these types of patients, these types of therapies aren't top of mind for them. So it is our job to really go out there for the patients to build this education. And there's this specific doctor that I found that has 10 neuroendocrine tumor patients. And that's huge. Like a lot of practice, like we're talking one physician, whereas like multiple practices sometimes don't have 10 of these patients. And as I'm working through like my data and my like information of where he's sending referrals, I'm realizing that there hasn't been a single referral the entire time that I've been in the territory. And very few scans are being done. So he's a no CM doctor. Like he will not see reps, even though we can do lunches at his office. Like he might walk in for give you the whole 1 minute opportunity. And so finally, after doing 2 lunches and only getting that 1 minute, I went to his office afterwards because like the type of person that I am, went to his office and I said, hey, I just want you to help me understand what's going on. Like I want to make sure that I'm not maybe like putting this therapy in the wrong like in the wrong light with you. Can you explain to me why we haven't seen a single referral from you to our treating site, where I even had our physician at our treating site reach out to him? Because after that so I jumped a little bit. After that conversation, he was just like, it just takes me some time to really research what's going on and to really understand if that's what I want to do. I said, understood. So then I reached out to my treating site doctor that does all of the treatments, and I said, could you reach out to this doctor like peer to peer and have a conversation? And they did, and the reaction that I got back from my treating site physician was, he's well aware of Lutathera and just doesn't have any patients in mind for it. And I was just mind blown. So at that point, I was able to get not another lunch, but I was able to get a meeting with the nurse practitioner. And I went up to the nurse practitioner. I just told her, I said, can you help me understand why this is going on? Like why is he not treating these types of patients or like using this therapy? This is a fantastic therapy. This is something that they need. And the way that she explained it is this doctor just doesn't like change. So finally I went in for another lunch. So this is like a span of like maybe 6 months. Finally get in one more time for another lunch. And I went again to his office and just let him know. I said, I just want you to be aware that, this therapy is a category 1 option for your patients. From my understanding, you are currently treating them with the standard of care, which was octreotide. But if you look at the data, your patients that you have told me are not progressing, you're telling me have not progressed in the last 5 years, and the data shows that they progressed in 8.5 months on octreotide. So we're missing something here. And I apologize if I'm like, and I told him, I was like, I apologize if I'm being direct, but this is like my passion. I'm advocating for the patients. So I just want you to be aware that you can be treating these patients in Austin. Very simple, and they will still be your patient. I don't know if you're just worried that if you refer them out, you're not going to have the patient anymore or anything. And after that conversation, I wish I could say that I got a referral. Still didn't get a referral, but for me, it was one where I got tired of going like the nice route of just like beating around the bush and not wanting to be direct with him to where I just went ahead and I was direct. If you're not going to do it for the patient, then I want you to know that you're making the wrong choice by not doing this. And I did get a message probably, I think about a month and a half ago from the nurse that he did send another patient to get a net spot scan. So that to me tells me at least he is starting to scan more to start looking for progression. But I just, that was one of my challenging doctors. It was one where I felt like at a certain point, if they're not going to respond to you, you almost have to put like, what if this was your family member? What if this was, would you tell me that you're not going to suggest this therapy for them? And I didn't go that route. I went a little bit of a nicer route, but most definitely, like if I was still doing this drug, that'd probably be the next route.
Nothing to lose at this stage.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Like I hadn't got anything, might as well.
It's kind of though, whenever you kind of look back or you think about some of the physicians, like they know what they're doing. Sometimes they're not aware, right? They don't know the data. But whenever they know the data and they're making the decision for habit or financial reasons, it's kind of sickening. But anyway, Okay, so we've all had times where, or a situation in which we've had to kind of adapt the way in which we interact or our communication to a stakeholder or to a team member. Can you think about a time that you've had to do that?
Yes. So, actually, the our division, when we ended up hiring for the prostate division, they hired an entire team that didn't have a product. So it still hadn't been approved by the FDA. So they could only have discussions around disease state. And it was our job to essentially get them up to speed with what radioligand therapy was, how the treatment took place, where the treating sites were. Like they hired, it was really strange because they hired a lot of people that had prostate experience but no oncology experience. So we were really kind of teaching them what this call point is like, how to interact with these doctors, who the top key opinion leaders are. And it was challenging to me because that was the first red flag in my mind of what could be coming, which was what ended up happening. Like Novartis ended up focusing more on prostate than NET. But like my adaptation to it was, if I'm going to be working with somebody, I want to make sure that we're at least going to be a team together. And I wasn't, as I told you yesterday, like whenever I have ideas, I share my ideas. I don't hold them to myself. So I thought to myself, if I can build a relationship with this person, she will also want to work with me. And when opportunities arise, she will let me know, hey, I have this lunch available. Do you want to come with me? And that really did help out. So like my openness of being there to like really kind of transition her into this new oncology space and role, knowing that her product was going to be the new baby that everybody wanted to talk about, that really did help me too, because it opened up doors for me that I wasn't able to open up anymore. And so I just made sure that making like to look at it as the bigger picture. And if there's going to be some kind of change, my adaptation to it should be one that's going to be mutually beneficial compared to just throwing my hands up in the air and arguing with people.
That never works out well.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you keep up to date on trends in your field? Like, like what do you do in terms of keeping up on competitors or what's happening in the market?
So I found an awesome guy on Twitter that is a neuroendocrine tumor survivor. And he literally it's almost so much that like I have to like turn his notifications off. Like he is so aware of all the advancements, all the clinical trials that are going on. And so when I found him, I started following his tweets, and he would post the link. So whenever he saw a new clinical trial, I'd pull up that clinical trial. I saw pretty quickly that lutetium-177, which is the binding agent that we use for the treatment, was starting to get used in other places. And then that's when I started bringing up questions to like our upper management. Is lutetium not like ours? It's not our trademark. It was like, no, this is a drug or like an isotope that other people can use. And so that's how I really was kind of up to date with what was going on. I saw that there was like alpha emitters that were coming out against the beta emitters that we had to offer. And so that was one way. Another way is I would always just go to clinicaltrials.gov and type in my disease state and see what new, within the United States, what new treatments were like starting to recruit for patients and stuff, and kind of see where they are. And then I'd dig deeper and see what companies were the ones that were participating in those clinical trials to then determine, okay, how close is this next competitor to coming out with a product. And I would say that. And we also, as a team, collectively, what we would do is we called them curiosity corners. And we did one, I believe it was every 2 weeks, and we just rotated. And so what that kind of tasked us in another way to figure out what's going on in the market, or to dig deeper within our certain treatment or what our competitor treatment would be doing. Like not a competitor, because there really wasn't a competitor to Lutathera, but there would be like a second or a third line option that they could pick instead. And so digging deeper for our understanding of that knowledge. This wasn't something that was requested of us to do, but as us being reps, we just wanted to know, why would a doctor pick this other therapy or this other therapy? And so we also added those into our curiosity corner.
So throughout our careers, we have had decisions that have been made that we probably don't agree with. Think about a time whenever a decision was made, you didn't agree with it. How'd you deal with it?
So I would say, going back to the conversation that we had yesterday, when I was trying to figure out, as the very first sales team, how could we better like get data and understand the data so that we can go out there and go do our jobs. And that was something that they were just not going to give us. So due to that, like, we really had to figure out how we're going to get into these offices. Luckily, at the time, this was right before COVID hit, I think literally the year before, we were able to get a lot of, I want to say for myself, at least in my territory, I was able to get into a lot of doors because of this new treatment, of this new therapy. And I was able to kind of create my own data flow sheet of having conversations with doctors and going, hey, how many neuroendocrine tumor patients do you have? And sometimes they don't even think about it that way. Like, so then I'd have to figure out other ways to ask the question. Oh, how about how many patients do you have that you're treating with octreotide? Oh, yeah, I got like one, and so like kind of figure it out that way. But it was that decision of not giving us that data that really kind of made me focus on how can I, one, understand my territory a little bit better, which was obviously trying to get in. I would even just call and not ask to talk to the doctor. I'd ask to talk to one of the nurses to see, how often are you giving this injection, so that I can get an idea to then ask them, would this be something that you guys would want to hear more about? And then finally, like I told you, after barking up the tree enough, I got them to give us the NetSpot data. And that was just a piece of data that was only a scan. And so I then started building relationships with the scanning sites and kind of showing them, like, if you were able to share your data with me in the sense of who's requesting the scan, then I can go out and let other physicians know in your area that aren't using the scan that the scan is available here. So it was like a win-win situation for both of us, because they're giving me data that I need, and then I'm also building awareness of a scan that I need anyway, but they're going to get business from that scan. So I used kind of building that relationship as well as another way to get the data that I wasn't getting.
That's awesome. Okay, last question. See, this
So it's not bad at all.
So, throughout our careers, we've worked for many different people, and I don't want names by any means.
I'm gonna start writing them down.
But think back and what have you, in terms of management, like what type of leadership do you respond to, and what did you like about? You can combine different leaders and what you liked about each leader, but really I'm just trying to understand, what type of leadership style you respond to is kind of my roundabout question.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll tell you that in this last role, the leadership that I had was fantastic. And it's because they looked at oncology and the roles that we did a lot like you look at it, in the sense of, this is a multi-piece conversation. This isn't just one key opinion leader, we have the conversation and we did our job. Like, the way that we get more patients treated is by obviously getting everybody involved within that facility. And so whenever it came down to, was it like the KPIs that everybody's looking at, he definitely did a great job of not stressing that upon us. He knew that we're out there doing our jobs and that we're all adults, and that he wasn't going to be using this data to be determining whether or not we were doing our jobs. And so I responded really well to that kind of management, because it's, to me, yes, in this role that we're in, once you get to oncology, I got into this, I think a little bit faster than a lot of other people get into it. But once you get into these roles, it is one of those where it's your responsibility to do your job, and you shouldn't have to have somebody over your shoulder to get you to go do your job. And I respond really well to that type of management. He's not the only one that I've had that way. That I've had other managers that are very much hands off, call me when you need me. Beyond that, like, I'll let you know if, our upper management has given us any other information until our next ride along. So they're very hands off, but very open to calls constantly. Like, they want to have these discussions with us. So it's not hands off in the sense of don't call me, leave me alone, and I'll leave you alone. It's more of let's collaborate together. If you don't need anything from me today, great. I don't need to hear from you. If I don't hear from you for a week, no problem. But if you need something from me, do not hesitate to call me. And I really just meshed well with that type of management. And after talking with Griffin, that's what he was saying. Bruce was a lot like. He's the type of person, when I asked, like, does he like text, email, or phone calls? It was like, if it's a quick question, text is fine. But he would much rather like talk this out with you. Like, if you have an idea or something, or you ran into an issue, he would much rather have a conversation. And that's the type of person that I am too. I would rather sit down, let's talk about this, and let's figure out, let's brainstorm, compared to always having to respond back. Like, I will say there was a time that I had to respond like yes, like literally just a simple yes to an email to show them that I read the email. And I was like, I'm an adult, I'm reading the email, I'm taking care of what you told me to do. But so I work well being treated as an adult, essentially. Like, go do your job, and we'll all be happy.
Perfect. Okay, that's all I had.
Awesome.
I'm like proud of myself. I'm like, yeah, that's all I had.
That's perfect.
What
So
questions do you have for me?
so I had one question that Griffin was able to answer, and I want to hear kind of like your take to it too, was like, because I didn't get to ask you yesterday, was what have you seen is the biggest challenge right now when it comes to talking about these two drugs and moving them through the cycle?
Honestly, I think the biggest challenge right now, we launched Metco during COVID, and we launched our biggest indication with Bavencio during COVID. And we've had immense response to UC in the maintenance setting. We're roughly getting 70% of the patients that would qualify for maintenance. Now, sometimes the physician is switching to a different IO that's not indicated within this setting. I still think that we have an opportunity. I think the biggest challenge is access.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we still have an opportunity with both products to expand the knowledge of both treatments. So I would say whenever it comes to, because I think things are still very restricted,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's parts of the country that are opening up, but it's always been a challenge even before COVID, and I think it's even a bigger challenge in the world that we're living in right now. So I think as a field individual, I think it's easy to get really frustrated. I know that, I had those days whenever I was a field representative, directly interacting with customers. I think what I say to people is if we're going in and expecting and doing the exact same thing and we're expecting a different result, we've already lost.
Yeah.
So we can't continue to do the same thing. If it's not working, we have to adjust our approach. Whatever that may look like. It may look like attending OS meetings, ONS meetings. It may look like, you're catching them as they're driving into work, as you shared yesterday. I think you kind of have to just think and provide different solutions where we can still be a resource. So I would say I think that's our biggest opportunity, because if the knowledge isn't clear, because within the community they're treating so many different types of cancer, that I think that's probably our biggest opportunity. I think a lot of the academics are very well aware of the information. Not that we can take that for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't. But that's what I would say is probably our biggest opportunity as I sit back and just remaining creative and flexible.
Okay.
I think internally, which you didn't necessarily ask me that, so I won't go into that unless you want me to.
No, I'd like to hear it, yeah. Like some of the challenges that you guys have run into internally.
done a good job as of recent. I think we still need to. I think the expectations of the team have been extremely high in terms of the goals that have been set. And the team is working extremely hard. And I think under Gabby's leadership, we've done a good job of trying to reposition like this is what's feasible. You know, and I think the team has done a good job of remaining motivated and, you know, continuing to drive forward on behalf of patients. So I think that would probably be, you know, just the biggest challenge of let's remember to remind individuals. I mean, we had our biggest month ever with Bavencio last month. In the U.S., contributed 50% of that. That's huge. Yeah. Huge. And those are things that the team, we need to be celebrating, and the team should be unbelievably proud of. And, you know, to me, that just translates to so many other patients getting, you know, the benefit of Bavencio in the maintenance setting, which wasn't available. I mean, there's been, we were talking about it today, in bladder cancer. In the past year, there's been 6 different trials with different drugs that have not met their primary endpoint and have not gotten approved or have not gotten the indication.
Wow.
So the advancement, there hadn't really been advancement for, 20, 40, you know, like it was at least 20 years. And so, you know, I think the team just needs to take a step back, take a breath, and realize how great and what that means in the community as well as, you know, for patients. So that's what I would say, I think, internally and externally probably are our biggest challenges.
Okay, awesome. And then we talked about data, you know, today and yesterday. So me being kind of like that analytical person, I like to like try to create the proper goals for myself to like achieve what it is I'm going to achieve. What does that data look like? Like whenever, is it a way for me to like look at how I could find the growth and create a plan for that? Like you would say that there's like enough data to be looked at to do those things?
I will tell you, we probably have more data than what people, I think you can go down so many rabbit holes. Like there is so much data available to you that it can be overwhelming, especially for those that are not data driven. I love to go in and, you know, really dive deep into that sort of, you know, to have the data. But I will tell you, so we have an operations person, and I will say he's a great colleague, but he's a great friend as well. And the data that's available, I mean, and if you have any question or if you need additional data, trust me, it can be provided. So I don't think if you were to join this organization that data would be an issue for you.
Okay, cool. No, it's been...
Streamlining the data may be more of an issue for you. You know, we have lines of therapy like with TED-METCO. We get triggers on when a patient's identified or test positive with MET. We get triggers if the patient's being tested. But we get all sorts of reports based upon, you know, like, okay, this particular physician wrote our competitor. So, you know, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of slice it and dice it to understand, you know, for me, if I'm looking at TED-METCO, our biggest opportunity are who's testing. Yeah. They may not have a MET patient today, but they might have one tomorrow. So I think that's the biggest opportunity. And then the other opportunity is I would, if I were running a specific territory, secondly, I'd be looking at who's using my competitor. And because they have a patient that's been identified and they're using the competitor. So I've got my job cut out for me there.
Yeah.
In order for whenever they have the next patient for it to be us instead of so I have not heard from anyone that they don't have enough data to do their job.
That's awesome because like I was telling you before, I think the triggers, we didn't have many in my space. And so a lot of the things that we were doing was all just how you were able to figure it out yourself. I think having like a couple of hints to go somewhere is fantastic. Obviously, like that hint is only so good. You still need to really follow up and dig deeper. And then having that conversation with Griffin, I'm excited to be able to look at other ways to, like, obviously he mentioned Caris, which I know reps that work for Caris. So you're sitting there using their knowledge, and who's your primary target that's doing all this diagnostic testing and things like that. So I think it's really cool that there's multiple ways to be able to find success in it, compared to it always just being like that, like you're on an island by yourself working in that particular area.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to be on an island by yourself.
Yeah, and then like you said, so with Shannon's team, so we're gonna have people that are overlapping and also talking and doing more. So that'll be awesome.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I mean, this is also your lunchtime, and you're at ASCO, so I don't want to take too much of your time. Beyond like what we've had conversations on, and my background, the different ways that I've answered these questions, like, am I still in your mind somebody that could definitely do this role?
For sure. I'd like for you to talk to Fergie and see how you feel. Obviously you had a discussion with Griffin, and again, her name's Angela, so it'll come through on your computer as Angela Ferguson, but she's like, everyone calls me Fergie. So I call her Fergie. So I want you to have that discussion and see, I want you to still feel, positive and good about things, and ask the questions of the team. And then I think once you have that discussion with her, if you could just reach out to me, that would be great. And then we can go from there.
Awesome. Well, that sounds wonderful.
Anything else?
I don't think so. A lot of the questions that I had like written down, we went over them yesterday, and then like a lot of the field-based questions, Griffin answered a lot of that. Then the research that I've done, I think it's super exciting to be able to be a part of having two drugs that have multiple indications, and then at the same time have indications that are category 1 options and fall within kind of the same space of what I've already had the challenge of like running into, which is changing a mindset, making people start rethinking the way that they sit and wait compared to not sitting and waiting, because the data is there. And so I really like that. I like that it's something that you can really kind of hang your hat on, because the data is great, and you have conversations that you can have PI related, but really make it more impactful compared to like, hey, this is my drug and I have a Me Too option. That like, right. So I think it's pretty amazing the possibilities that there are with this.
All right. Well, I appreciate it very much, and thank you so much for making time for me again. And I hope everyone in the family feels a lot better. And I hope you guys get the deserved rest and hopefully you stay healthy and your wife gets better, and hopefully the kids remain healthy as well.
Yeah, so, definitely.
In the meantime, let me know if you need anything. Like I said, I think Fergie should be reaching out, I believe, on Monday.
Okay.
So hopefully we can touch base either Monday or Tuesday, and we'll go from there.
Okay, wonderful.
All right, have a great weekend.
You too. Enjoy ASCO.
Okay. Thanks. Take care.
Bye. Oh my God. I was holding that for quite some time. I was dying. Well, I think that went well. That's situational questions for you right there. That was 6 of them. One of them, this is why I always suggest writing notes down even during the interview, because on one of the questions I forgot exactly like what the question was because I wasn't writing it down, and so I kind of just had to spitball for a little bit, but I feel like I answered all the questions accurately and to the best of my capabilities. I had responses at the ready. Don't feel like you have to always like say something immediately. Like you have a chance to sit and think for 5 seconds or something. So take the time. Beyond that, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I feel like this will probably be like one of the better ones for most people, because a lot of these companies and bigger companies, when you're interviewing, you're going to go through these situational questions, and it's like they have to do it. I don't necessarily feel like it gives the best answers and like characteristics of who the person is, but at the same time too, I guess I feel that way because I don't find them that difficult due to the fact of having a bunch of like memories and experiences to pull from. But I could definitely see how if you didn't have those experiences, it would be a little bit more difficult to answer those questions. But thank you guys for watching the video again. If you've made it this far, you're absolute legends. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share the content with other people. I greatly appreciate it. And until the next video, guys, I'll see you later.